Guys, I've done something stupid again. I have signed up for an ultramarathon in June, which is all well and good, but I'm injured and it really affects my running. So I don't know why I thought that was a good idea, but yeah, here we are again. And I say again because last year I signed up for a half marathon and I had an injury on my Achilles and I didn't do any training for it. I totally winged it wearing my old runners, which had a massive hole in them and probably had far too many kilometers on them, but it went well. I really enjoyed it. And so the only next logical step from doing that is to sign up for an ultra. So it's very exciting. It's something that's definitely a challenge to me, but I'm also, as you guys know, the jack of all trades and the master of none when it comes to training. I just want to be able to do everything and seem to think that I can do everything. So not only do I have running goals at the moment, but I have a bazillion different other ones as well, which I'm training for. And I'm just trying to keep my body clinging on in there because at the moment it's struggling. It's struggling a lot. I feel like I'm seeing osteopaths and physios and sports massage therapists and just keeping them all in business at the moment. But I'm also having a lot of fun in my training and it's exciting to have some actual goals to work towards. Some of the other ones I'm working towards is trying to get to grade 7 on my lead climbing, which based on my climbing yesterday is going to be a tall order because I was on lead and I was terrified. I don't know what happened. It just completely came over me. I was shaking. I couldn't complete routes. I didn't have any trust in my belayer, which is Josh, my partner. So that's not exactly good, is it? And it was just, I was so in my head. We ended up doing falls practice and by the end of it, I was climbing at my normal grade on lead and finishing most routes. And the annoying thing is in my body, I felt super, super strong, but in terms of my climbing, it was just my brain stopping me. I'm trying to keep my body nice and healthy for all these other things. Obviously, hiking is a massive part of my life, so I've got some big hiking trips planned and I want to be fit and strong enough for those. And then finally, I'm still working on my calisthenics and building like really good foundational strength in those movements. So at the moment, I've stripped it right back down to basic and I'm working on all the base stuff and just trying to build up the strength. And genuinely, it's really humbling me because I just feel like my body is in a weird spot. It just, everything feels a bit But anyway, on the other side of this, I feel like I haven't vlogged in ages. So I thought I'd pick up the camera today, it's a Sunday, and just chat to you guys, catch you up on what's been going on and find out what we do today. I usually tend to train on Sundays and then I will do quite a lot of work, but I don't exactly know how today's gonna pan out. My training for today was meant to be yesterday's 15K run, but my injury, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, they usually come in twos, there you go. Anyway, my training was meant to be a 15K hilly run. However, my injury that's stopping me from running is flared up at the moment and it is so frustrating. I've been to so many people, no one knows exactly what it is. It just seems like it's probably tight muscles down the right side of my body, but essentially it really affects my hip and my glute and it's just too much pain to run. So anything over about 8K tends to flare it up and then for a few days, maybe even a week, I'm kind of out and it's just back to the beginning, rinse and repeat. So I'm trying to work a way through that at the moment. And I woke up with the intrusive thought of thinking, no, I'm going for this run. I don't care, it's only 15K. And then I realized very quickly as I got out of bed, that was a very bad idea. So I actually don't know what I'm going to do today in terms of training. I think Josh is on his way home. He's just been out doing a bit of work. So we might go to the gym and I might do my Cali session instead. Very excitingly for somebody who literally clings on to their trainers for way too long past their use by date, I have done a massive bulk buy of fitness stuff that I need. And let me tell you, when you are the jack of all trades and master of none and you have far too many hobbies, it is ridiculous. So I've ended up needing new shoes for hiking, new shoes for training, new shoes for trail running, new shoes for road running, new climbing shoes because they had a hole in them, and then like a cross training pair as well, which is excessive, I know, but also necessary. And I put it off for as long as possible, but at some point it had to happen. So I'm gonna make myself a coffee and then I'm gonna show you them because I'm quite excited to look at them as well. They're sitting down here and over there at the moment. So give me one sec. Let's bring you a little closer. Well, in a fortuitous turn of events, Josh came home and just as I was finishing making coffee, he walked in with coffee. Anyway, these are some of the shoes that I bought. So I'll quickly run through some of them. Firstly, the ones that I've already tried and worn. I needed a new pair of road runners because I literally have been running on the same ones for probably about 3 years. They had a huge hole in the toe. They were Asics Keanos, I think, and I was really reluctant to get a new pair because of all these issues I've been having with my hip, and I just feel like it is a minefield. There are so many brands doing running trainers now, and I honestly don't really know anything about it, and it just overwhelmed me. And it feels like such a big financial commitment to do, so I was a bit reluctant. But anyway, I was in Portugal weeks ago, and I was staying in an Airbnb, which was really near to an outlet, so I bit the bullet and I just bought a few pairs to try out. So these are the New Balance Propels. I've worn them, as you can see, a couple of times, and they seem really nice. Like, they're nice and light in comparison to the ones I was used to, and very bouncy. So they are what I'm using for road running at the moment, but I probably will need to get another pair at some point. And then these are looking a little bit muddy after the Peak District this week, but these are New Balance N-Trails, which are a trail running shoe, but I'm not going to use them as trail running shoes per se. They're just not quite right. These are more going to be for just my walking day to day, and as you guys know, I do a lot of walking. So those are the two that I have been wearing a lot. Firstly, I was up in Sheffield yesterday climbing, and I'm kind of an idiot, I suppose, since this is some of my climbing gear, but I bought a pair of new climbing shoes, like I mentioned, a couple of months ago, maybe like 2 months ago, and I ended up getting the La Sportiva Finale, and honestly, they're incredible. I love them so much. However, I bought them and they are agonizing, and I went through the process of trying to break them in, and it was getting to the point where it was really just preventing me from climbing because they were just, I would say, like a half size too small. And if you wear climbing shoes, they should be tight, but these were really painful. And I haven't, like I said, a goal of getting better at climbing this year. So I decided to keep these for more intricate climbing and sort of like one-off use. And I literally went and bought exactly the same pair, but in a size bigger. I now have 2 new pairs of climbing shoes, exactly the same. They actually are phenomenal climbing shoes. I absolutely love them. So I'm stoked with them. I just wish I hadn't bought them in quite a small size to start with. But were my previous ones La Sportiva? Yeah, actually they were. And I think I didn't have them on me when I bought these ones, so I wasn't sure exactly the size. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I've got some new climbing shoes and they're amazing. I wore them yesterday and climbed for about 5 hours. And I know that the bigger size is gonna be great for when we get outdoors to the crag. So I'm excited about that. And then yesterday, when we were in Sheffield, I nipped into outdoors to get the climbing shoes, and I picked up these shoes, which are the Scarpa Golden Gate. So these are gonna be my trail running shoes, I think. Again, you never really know until you actually wear them if they're any good, but these ones have really, really good reviews, so I'm stoked to try them out. They are like proper trail running shoes, like the ones that you can almost see through. Really thin, really light, and very comfortable. So we will see. I am a Scarpa girl a lot of the times. There's a couple of brands that I just find work really well for my feet, and most of my hiking shoes are Scarpa. So I know Scarpa work really well for that. So I'm hoping in terms of trail running, they will be good. But how gorgeous are they? I'm stoked to try them out when my hip gets better. And then I needed a new pair of gym shoes. So I actually always get questions about my gym shoes. I have been living in Reebok Nano X1s for the past 3-4 years, and I love them. However, Reebok don't do X1s anymore. They've gone to X2, X3, and I think they're at X4 now. And while I have X2s, I don't like them as much because the back is quite low, and I find it feels like my foot is slipping out, so I tend to not wear them that often. They're not the worst, but they're definitely not as comfy as the X1s, and you just can't get the X1s as much anymore. So I was looking for another pair which is similar, a good cross-training shoe, and more importantly has a wide toe box, but also has that high back, and Innovate keeps coming up in my mind. I have a pair of Innovate hiking boots, and they are so, so comfortable. So I know that I really, really like the brand, and these ones are, what are they called? F-Lite Max. So they have a couple of different pairs. They have F-Lite, then they have the F-Fly, and then this one is the F-Lite Max. So this one actually has a little bit of a bigger heel drop, so a bit more of a wedge, and that's good for if you're doing a little bit more lifting. I have never worn lifting shoes, so I will be interested to see how this affects it in the gym, because my training has moved a little bit more towards that. It's kind of cross training, but more towards the resistance training side of things, just to like prehab my body. So yeah, I'm super stoked to try these. They are so comfortable. Like, this toe box is so wide and so much room for my feet to move. I'm really excited to try these out, and I will probably give them a go today, and I will let you know how I find them. But that is my little shoe haul, which is a lot, I appreciate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pairs of shoes. But it's one of those things that I do every couple of years, and the cost per wear turns out to be absolutely nothing because I wear them so often. And I would not have this many different types of shoe if I didn't have so many different types of training style. Unfortunately, that is just the life I have chosen to lead. Hugo's come here to join me, and he's just playing with the laces. He's honestly so sassy nowadays. He genuinely thinks he's the boss of me. Right, I guess we should make some plans for the day. I've done a little bit of work already this morning when I woke up and just sat in bed and did it. But I think it makes sense to head to the gym and get some type of movement in. So I'll probably walk there. I think Josh is going to meet me there once he's done doing his thing, and then we will take it from there. I feel like I've barely been on YouTube recently. When I say recently, when I look back at, like, if I go through my channel to try and find a thumbnail or something like that from a video, or try and find a previous video link, I don't have to scroll very far to find things from like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, which means I really haven't uploaded a lot of videos, which is pretty accurate, and I'm not very proud of. So I'm making a concerted effort to try to film more videos. I really prioritise YouTube. Last year was a year of self-development and trying to put my mental health first, and it was very much necessary. But as you may have seen, I don't think I actually put a YouTube video up around New Year's about it. I put up a short about it, I think, but I didn't put it up on YouTube because they can't do anything over a minute. But anyway, I'm just literally waffling. I think I was kind of reaching this point of like just trying to spin too many plates. I was completely overwhelmed. I was falling into these massive self-doubt traps, and it was affecting my health physically, etc., etc. So I just took the year to obviously maintain work, but also take a step back. And then I felt progressively as the year went on, I was kind of just watching everything I'd worked so hard on fall to the ground and come crumbling down, which was really heartbreaking. And I don't think that's necessarily the case, but it definitely feels like it's had a massive impact. And that makes sense because if I stop, the business stops. When I say the business, obviously I have socials, I have YouTube, I have an online personal training business, I have a hiking and adventure business, and then I also have like a workout app, and I have lots of other bits and bobs that go into it. So that's what I'm referring to. If I stop, all those things essentially stop. And if that's not continually being updated and move forward, it doesn't just stagnate, it starts to decline. And it becomes a really tricky situation to balance, because for sure, if I'm struggling, it's going to come across in my content, it's going to come across in my coaching, it's going to come across in just the way I present myself. And I don't want to put that out to people. I want to be a radiator. I don't want to be a life vampire. So every time someone seems like, oh, I don't want to listen to her because she's just negative all the time, or anything like that. So while I show those things, I also don't want to be constantly just negative, because that is not fun for anybody. And that's kind of where I felt like I was getting to towards the end of the year. But anyway, I'm trying to make a concerted effort to get back into the grind. You may have seen that I filmed a follow along workout video. Can't believe it. It's literally been over a year or something. I think maybe a year and a half since I'd uploaded one. And honestly, I was just so in my head about it. But then when I went to Portugal, I was like, right, this is a good location, film some videos, take my own advice, stop getting in my own way, and upload it. And I'm really happy with the result. Obviously, there's still tweaks that I can make. And I love when you guys give me feedback and let me know what you would prefer or what would make it better. So for example, that didn't have me talking along. And that's because in the background, which you can't hear, is quite a lot of construction noise. So I couldn't have put a microphone on and talked through the exercises. So there will be a few more videos in the future that don't have any audio because of that. And also, to be honest with you, it's much easier to film when there's no audio. There's a lot less to set up, a lot less can go wrong with technology, which is something I always have an issue with, just being me by myself. And so it is a ton easier when there's no audio. But I also appreciate some people like it. On the other hand, there's some people that don't want me to talk and they just want to be able to listen to their own music. So it can be quite tricky, but they want to hear the beeps, so they can't just mute it. So it's just trying to find the balance of, you know, what people want, what's going to be best. I'm just really proud that I actually got a video up, and I've got a few more that I need to edit. I also have just tons of stuff that I need to edit. I've got handstand tutorials. I've got a week of workouts that I've filmed that I need to put up, which is a little bit chaotic, as you can imagine, with all the stuff that I have at the moment. And I want to get into vlogging a little bit more too, because I've got some trips coming up, quite exciting. Lots of outdoor stuff, which is quite exciting, which I would love to share more of. And I'm also getting intrusive thoughts, which I get is like the most ridiculous thing after everything I just said, but of creating another social media account for like me and Josh to start, maybe. I don't know. I haven't even spoken to him about it, but I know that he would like it. I do lots of stuff by myself. I'm like a proper solo adventure girl, but I also enjoy going and doing things with him as well, and we do some pretty epic stuff. So it would be cool to be able to share some of those things, I think. And we just find some really cool places too. I'm really waffling now, and I should go and get changed to go to the gym, but I think I'm gonna go back to Portugal because it was a really great place to film and to train, and the weather obviously is much more consistent. This is little things like in the UK at the moment, it is just great and miserable, and it gets dark really early, so you're really limited on light. So when you're filming, there's only really so much you can do, and it's quite difficult sometimes. So going to Portugal, where I know it's going to be sunny, I know I'm going to have a certain amount of daylight hours, I know I'm going to be able to train, I have the ability and the time to do so, is really great. So I think I'm probably going to go back to Portugal and just staying there for a few days. At the moment, I really don't have a lot booked in. I also could potentially go to Japan in May and Canada, and there might be a group trip coming up to Madeira in October. So there's lots of cool things like in the pipeline, but they're not confirmed yet. So I'm sort of just working away, chipping away at those things, which is very exciting. But anyway, right, I'm gonna stop waffling and I'm gonna get changed for the gym. Otherwise, I'm gonna be here until mid-afternoon. So let's go to the gym. Okay, we are back from the gym. I'll just turn that brightness down a bit. There you go, back to normal. Gym done. It was a good session. I feel like I have no business feeling as strong as I do, considering how much training I've done this week, and that I am so close to my period that I am deep into the luteal phase. But it's a good feeling. I'm quite enjoying it. Although that being said, I did try to do a weighted chin-up twice, and it was not happening. My brain was like, yes. My body was like, absolutely not. So anyway, did that. Trainers were good. We both enjoyed it. It is now miserable outside, so we picked up some groceries, and we are going to relax on the sofa and watch the rugby. The Six Nations is on, so France versus Italy. And I'm going to do some work, and Josh is going to eat a pork pie and watch rugby. So that is the plan for the next couple of hours. I might do some blog posts. Really enjoyed writing recently, so I might do a few of those. I've got 2 Substacks, one for my outdoor business, which is called Made Wild. So if you're interested in like anything to do with solo travel, female travel, hiking, outdoors, adventure, all that sort of stuff, Made Wild Adventures. And then I have one called General Musings of a Personal Trainer, which is more about kind of stuff you'd see on YouTube really. So like weight loss, health and fitness, calisthenics, training, some outdoor stuff, some travel stuff, just lots of general bits and bobs. So I might do a bit of writing for that, might do some editing, but I am going to make myself a little snack bowl. I wouldn't actually mind getting some reading in at the moment. This is pretty rogue for me, but I'm currently reading Fourth Wing. When I went to Portugal, I wanted a book to read which was fiction rather than something that I usually read, which would be business or self-development or something around health and fitness. So I got sucked in hard to book talk, I guess they call it, and I thought I'd try some fantasy. I've never read fantasy before, and I mean, I'll admit, it's been slow going. I've only read this much so far, so I'm on chapter 8, but I'm really enjoying it, so I might do a little bit of reading at some point as well. But other than that, I just need to do a lot of organising. The house is a tip. Honestly, it's such a mess. And I've been saying to myself, I'll do it on the weekend when I have some free time. And then every weekend gets filled up with just so many different things. Like last weekend I was running a group hike, and on the Saturday I had lots of work things that I had to get done. And then the whole weekend just evaporated. And so I really need to get on top of that. But it might have to be a job for tomorrow. We'll see. I might be able to get some of it done. Case in point, I need to return some of this stuff to Amazon. I bought myself some running vests for the long distance runs, only because I don't really have anywhere to put my phone, so I often won't take it with me. But sometimes I'm running in countries I'm not familiar with, so I obviously don't know the route. Like when I was in Malta, I did a peninsula run, and that was when I actually initially got this injury. It was really random, like nothing happened. I think actually might have been the bed that I'd slept on just did something to my back, and as soon as I set off, the first kilometre, like everything was pounding on my sciatic nerve, but on my right side, which is my good side. And I was like, oh, this doesn't feel good, but I'm an idiot, so I kept running. And about, I think it was about 10k in, I was kind of out into the peninsula, and it was getting painful every step that I took. But I really didn't have much choice because I was kind of stuck out there, so I had to continue on. So I ended up doing the 20-kilometre loop that I'd set out to, but I was literally coming in limping to the beach to meet my friend at the end. So in so fact, to cut a long story short there, I have bought some running vests to be able to do that. And also, I'm trying to get a little bit smarter with my nutrition, but I need to learn a little bit more about fueling through races and long runs, because at the moment, I just raw dog it. Like, I just don't do anything. I often will run fasted, and I don't take any water with me or anything like that, which I know is not ideal. I've done quite a lot of 21-ish kilometre runs. I've done them in the heat, I've done them in other countries, I've done them on different types of terrain, and every time I've not had anything with me. But that being said, I don't think that's very smart, and also I think I could be getting a lot more out of my runs if I was to fuel properly, especially throughout them. So I want to do a little bit of reading about that, and obviously having a vest to stash that stuff in would be quite useful. So I need to organise a few of those things. Lots to keep me busy. But first of all, I'm going to go and eat my carrots because I cannot stop thinking about them. Good morning. It is the next day, and I didn't film again last night. I ended up just doing a little bit of work, watching some stuff with Josh, making dinner, and then going to bed. So it wasn't a very exciting evening. And it is now Monday morning. I've just been on my morning walk, and I really feel like the biggest task for the morning, just so I have a bit of a clear mind, is to sort the house out, because it really is such a mess. It has been like this for weeks, and I am so ready for it to be a little bit more organised. So I'm gonna try and smash that out in the morning, and then I'm going to crack on with some work. I also need to cut Hugo's nails because they're getting a little bit long. You need a pedicure, don't you, mate? He's just sitting outside the door. I was gonna have a shower and just sort my life out, essentially. Let's start the week off on a bit of a fresh note, I think. So naturally, first things being first, coffee, shower, tidy, work. Is anybody else obsessed with Benson Boone? Honestly, I cannot get enough. After the Grammys thing, I'm literally obsessed. Nearly 2 billion listens. That's mad. Well, this is what it looks like when you have too many hobbies. Just look at it and weep, guys. I fear this is going to be probably the worst angle ever. We'll work with it. I have finished cleaning. It was a great success, especially that gear room. It feels so much better to be able to walk in there and actually see the floor and everything be somewhat organised. It's very, very exciting. We're making moves finally. It also feels so spring-like at the moment. It's so gorgeous, like the sky is so blue and the daffodils are coming up and all the spring things are starting to come into stores, and it just feels so much nicer. I love winter for mountaineering, but everything else, I just really get excited to see the sun. It's only when you actually see it that you realise how much you've actually missed it. Anyway, that's not what I came on here to talk about. I've obviously just got myself a bit ready, and I'm gonna go and work in a cafe for the rest of the day. But first, I thought I would just quickly talk to you guys about managing injuries because firstly, I am no stranger to injuries. I feel like I always maintain that ever since getting into health and fitness, I have never felt so low in energy and injured and gotten sick as many times as I have, which seems, as you can tell, right, I'm sick. But that seems to be the opposite of what you would expect. And not only that, but I know how hard it is to deal with injuries. I've had some quite bad injuries, and then I've also just had loads of really annoying ones that have just lingered for a month to 3 months, something like that, and then they've gone away, just to name a few. So I obviously had a L5-S1 disc bulge, and that was the most severe one that I think I've had. That one was in 2020, and it lasted for, well, it's ongoing, but the really bad bit of it was probably at least a year where I wasn't training properly, and it was hard because obviously it's my job to be able to create fitness programs and content and to keep myself fit as well. So that was a real struggle. Outside of that, last year I had an Achilles, so I thought it was Achilles tendinopathy for about 3 or 4 months at the beginning of the year, which was again really hard because I had a lot of work trips which involved a lot of hiking, and I really couldn't do it. I had to live in Crocs basically because they had no back to them, or Birkenstocks, for a little while because even wearing shoes was painful. I've had shoulder injuries, and I have constant ongoing tendonitis injuries, but they have actually come from a previous job which has nothing to do with health and fitness. But unfortunately, especially calisthenics can aggravate that. So I have tennis elbow, I have costochondritis, which is inflammation between the rib cage and the sternum. I have tendonitis in my back as well. I did have bursitis in my shoulder at one point, but that seems to have calmed down. And now, to add to the mix, to the melee of injuries, I have this hip issue. Now this hip issue, I think I mentioned, started in Malta last year. So it was in about November, October time. And I just went for that run. It just started hurting. And what we think it's actually just tight muscles. So maybe piriformis syndrome or something along the lines of that, but it just seems to keep re-injuring itself. And I have signed up for this ultra. I have really been enjoying doing my running training. I love that the progress is a lot more linear than a lot of the other forms of fitness and sport that I do, and you have a lot of data, and I've really been enjoying learning about data in running because it's not something that I was well versed on, and now I'm sort of understanding splits and cadence and being able to dive into the details and actually understand it, which is quite exciting and fun and motivating as well. And then additionally to that, when I was on my morning walk this morning, I was thinking it's just such a beautiful day to be out running, and especially combining my love of mountains and running to trail running. I'm just like, oh, it's killing me that I can't do it consistently, especially when I go overseas and I want to do big long tourist trail runs. I just can't. It's always really hit and miss whether I can actually do that or not. So it's just one of the things I'm really loving, and at the moment I can't do it. However, I do feel like I am dealing with this a lot better than I would have done in the past, and I think it's just come from experience, but I know it's something that people struggle with a lot because I talk to clients about this a lot. And even if it's just a little niggle, like you tweak a muscle or you are unwell and you can't train for a week or two, it can really affect your motivation, your psyche, but ultimately it doesn't really change your progress. And that's kind of just what I want to talk about, just managing your expectations, managing your mindset around injury, maybe reframing it a little bit and realizing that yes, it sucks, but it's probably not as bad as you think it is. So firstly, it is a lot of mindset, really. Yes, there's an aspect of physical pain and maybe some incapacity to do something, but realistically, it's affecting your mind. And so it requires a bit of a mindset shift, realizing that progress is not linear in anything, and there's always going to be steps forwards and steps back, and this is just a part of the process. And so when you do get an injury, it's not the be all and end all, it is simply just a part of the journey, and there is plenty of ways that you can work around it. It really does let you practice patience and looking longer term and being able to see the bigger picture, which I think has so much merit by itself. So trying to find the silver linings, I would say that it does allow you to practice that patience. It also gives you empathy for those who also struggle, because it can sometimes be so easy when you're in a good place, your training's good, or life's going really well, and someone else is struggling, that you don't really have as much empathy as maybe you could. And then when you're actually in that position, you realize how they feel. And then on top of that, it also just makes you appreciate how incredible your body is and what you are capable of, and how nice it is to feel healthy and well and not have an injury. You really look forward to recovering, getting back into your training. And I remember always saying this when I had my back injury, I would never ever take for granted movement again. Even when I'm doing a movement that I really hate, like hollow body holds, looking at you, I will still think, I would have given anything to be able to do that back then. Even just to be able to walk down the stairs without pain, put my socks on, being able to cross the road without having to move my entire body. Little things like that, it just gives you so much appreciation for the simple things in life. So mindset shift, there is positives that come from it. There's a silver lining in everything. And doing a little digging and trying to find out what you think those are for you is going to be really beneficial. Secondly, something I always like to think about is there is always something that you can do. I often put on my Instagram stories, if I'm ever injured, I will put on my Instagram stories a video of me cycling, and I will always say on it, I may not tell you that I'm injured, but there will be signs, because I'm usually only ever sitting on a bike when I'm injured. It's like my last resort exercise to do. There is always something that you can do, and if you're not sure about it, do some research, or if you have the ability to go and see a specialist like an osteopath, a physiotherapist, a doctor, ask them what their suggestions are and just start doing that and implementing those things. Because if you're still getting movement in, if you're still doing something, you're proactively working towards going forward, it just makes you feel like you're achieving something rather than just stagnating, because that's how it can sort of feel, and it becomes a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, or maybe like a little bit of a downwards doom spiral. And also, this is something again that you learn a little bit more over time, and professional help can be really good for this. Actually training on an injury to a certain extent can be sometimes a good thing. So it's about learning that line of what's pain and what's discomfort, and what's going to be beneficial to an injury and what's not. Because I know that when you have an injury, you then become super hyper focused and aware of that specific area on your body, or not injuring yourself again. And sometimes you can just then be careful and like to pare back on it. But sometimes that injury might have been caused because that area is weak, or because your balance isn't so good, so something's happened, or you know, who knows. But sometimes actually training that area is going to be beneficial for recovery and also for rehabbing it and then preventing any future injuries happening. One huge one, and this is so important, is getting help if you can. So it sucks. It sucks waking up and realizing you have an injury. It sucks when it happens, you're like, oh no. And what makes it worse is not knowing what it is, how long it's going to last, and how you can treat it. If you have answers to those three things, or at least an idea, it makes it so much easier, because you can mentally say to myself, okay, I'm expecting this to be about 6 weeks. I can get through 6 weeks. This is how I'm going to adapt my training. This is what I need to do. And I know exactly what's going to make it worse and what's going to make it better. Otherwise, you're just stabbing in the dark, and it is a bit of a minefield, and then you end up just feeling a little bit hopeless. So the best thing to do here is get advice. Google can be questionable, but it can also give you some good ideas. So, you know, do your own research, but if you have the ability to, go to a GP, go to an osteopath, go to a physiotherapist, sports massage therapist. If you can get yourself to one of those, get yourself diagnosed and know what the problem is, then you can deal with it a lot better. And then I think the final one, and just in terms of managing your mindset, is use it as an opportunity to pour your time into something else. I don't know about you guys, but for me, fitness, exercise, health, that sort of stuff, it takes up quite a lot of my day. And not this week, but the week before, I was just doing my workout in the gym, and I turned to talk to Josh, like just went like that, and I felt my neck twinge, and I was like, oh, that's a bit uncomfortable. Went back, it had gone, and then about 30 seconds later, it just felt like water poured down my back, and everything in my neck and my upper back spasmed. And for that week, I literally couldn't twist my neck at all. So I had that, plus my hip, so I couldn't run. I wouldn't have been able to run with my neck anyway, but I couldn't really do anything. Even sitting on the bike was hard. So I took the whole week off doing anything. I went on my morning walks, but that was pretty much it. But the amazing thing was, I probably had the most productive week I've had in such a long time, because I was forced to just sit at my desk the whole time, and I worked. I worked. I got so much work done because I had so many more hours in the day. So you can actually use that time, and because you know it's going to be a temporary thing, just say, yes, this is amazing. Now I get to double down on my arts and crafts, or I get to double down on spending time with my friends or my family. I get to double down on work, whatever it might be. You have some extra hours in your day. So believe it or not, there is positives that can come from it. Even when you can't see the wood for the trees, there is positives. Other than that, everything else is just stuff that you would already know. If you're injured, you need to prioritize recovery. You need to make sure you're fueling your body well to recover. You need to make sure that you are stretching and resting and doing everything that you need to do in terms of rehab exercises. Moving is always going to be important to an extent which is comfortable and safe. And then also prioritizing your mental health. So still talk to people, make sure that you're doing other things and you're working towards other goals. But the main thing is knowing that all of this is just temporary. This too shall pass. Everything will get better. And this, unfortunately, is just a bit of a part of the process. I do think it gets easier the more it happens, but it doesn't mean it sucks any less. So if you're struggling with an injury, know that you're not alone and that I am here struggling with you. And somehow we're still going to run an ultra in 109 days time is what I was told today on my app. Anyway, I hope that little pep talk has helped. I really should go and do some work now. So I'm going to pack up my stuff. I'm going to walk to a cafe and we're going to smash out some productive work time before we go and do our training tonight. So without further ado, let's go. Alright, back from working in a cafe and now rushing out the door. I've got a squash court booked. And I'm going to get my ass handed to me.
Yes, you are.
Playing squash by Josh. Oh, that rhymes.
Playing squash by Josh.
We're going to play for 40 minutes and then I'm actually not sure what we're going to do after that.
Legs.
Oh, I was going to take my climbing stuff just in case I fancy going climbing. I don't know. I might just grab my bouldering shoes, my shoes and my chalk bag just in case.
Oh, that's exciting.
We'll see, we'll see. I don't know, because I can't run, and I did Cali yesterday, so I might do all three, we'll see. But dressed in squash attire, and I'm trying to wear my new shoes for squash. Usually I'd wear my X1s. I should really get squash shoes, but I haven't. I'll make sure I take the right pair of climbing shoes. I'll take all three, just in case. All right. I'll see you at the gym. Good evening. We are back from the gym and I'm just making some dinner. We ended up playing squash and I think Josh won. Oh, he won by like 1 or 2 points on the last game. It was pretty even up until then. And then we went to the gym and we did a lower body workout, which is part of my running training. And then we went and did a little bit of bouldering, but it wasn't anything crazy. So triple sessioned it, which felt pretty good actually. My body is feeling so-so. My hip is definitely not happy, but I'm going to do some stretching tomorrow and see how it feels. I've also got a sports massage booked for Thursday, which is in a couple of days time. It's Monday today, and she's incredible, so I'm hoping that will help as well, and hopefully I'll be able to get a run in this week, but I do have a feeling that might not be the case, so we will wait and see. But regardless, there's still plenty of stuff that I can do, and climbing's feeling really good, and the gym's feeling crazily good. So like I say, I have no business feeling as good as I am at the moment with training, but we're riding with it. So I'm just making some dinner. It's a lot of moving parts at the moment. I'm making stuff for me, for Josh, and there's a lot of pieces. So there's pasta going on, soup, this is some veggies for me, and then we've got my salad, Josh's salad, and I've got some stuff in the about to go in the air fryer. And this is basically my little routine, is I cook in the evenings. I love cooking, and I watch something. At the moment I'm watching Selling the OC on Netflix, which is fine, but it's a lot of yelling and angry people, so I have to do it in doses, but there's just not that much on YouTube at the moment that I'm really finding exciting. I need to find some new stuff. So I'll probably leave this video here. I don't know if there's much value in this video, but at least it's something, a little bit of a catch up. And hopefully it means we're kind of like back on the vlogging a little bit. So we will sign off the video. I hope everyone is having a beautiful week. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.